great project. I mean, honestly, I never thought in the world that this would grow. I knew it was the thing to do, but the level of anxiety we all had about this was just tremendous.
One of the things that was beginning to happen is other states seemed to be a little bit ahead of where Tennessee was at that time as far as the infrastructure. They wanted to actually do their courses in our state, which I saw as a threat. I called Dr. McPhee and said, Sydney, can we get this done? And putting an online degree program in place. That was the beginning.
Regent Fisherman said, I think it was either the March meeting of the board, that he wanted the program up and running by the fall. The first reaction was, without any verbal or nonverbal expression, shock, in a way, knowing how the academic machine works. And all my internal bells went off, in the sense that recognizing that it was practically impossible to do that within such a short period of time, knowing all of the activities and all the things that need to happen in terms of developing a curriculum, getting faculty and staff on board.
And we didn't have the equipment or the software. You have to remember, we started with Front Page. We didn't have an LMS. We didn't have WebCT or Desire to Learn. So we had to create all of those templates. But we were willing to learn, and upon making a mistake, we just kind of brushed us off and tried again. We had like a team. We had Carol Pereira, who was over student services, and she was excellent in calling the campus, getting them motivated. And then we had Mr. Spock, John Sinclair. And we had Tennessee Tech University with Kevin. And we didn't have any money for marketing, but I remember coming to you and saying, can you help? And the answer was yes. So with the team of 3, we were able to push forward with the Regents Online degree program.
Well, we have to remember that when the Regents Online degree program started, there was a lot of activity before the actual September date when it occurred. I was very enthusiastic about it, probably because I just wasn't smart enough to know what might happen with a program like this. And I really did want to be involved in something from the very beginning. As I said earlier, I'd never experienced that, so that was just a wonderful opportunity. But I love to listen to the students and see how we could help them. And I just really did tried to bring a caring heart and help the program.
In the early days, President Bell brought the Chancellor by the Business Media Center late one afternoon. He was on his way to a Tennessee Tech basketball game. He asked us if we had ever produced one of those small CDs that you put in your shirt pocket. I said, "You mean like this?" And I pulled out a CD that we had just produced. He then invited me to come meet with Dr. McPhee and talk about marketing with this new RODP program that was starting to be developed. We knew the challenge was to develop a brand, a marketing plan, and work the details from Memphis to Bristol, and to do it at lightning speed. With a lot of the new marketing tracking technologies that came online about the same time as online learning, we were able to see that with every new marketing component in the plan, we could see the results. This provided a lot of motivation and a lot of excitement.
To get the program up and running, we had 2 main concerns. One was getting the faculty to get their content ready. So that was a challenge, and Robbie and I both worked with the faculty to help them get their materials in a form ready for online. And then the second factor was the incredible technical job of coordinating all of the different student information systems from the various campuses. That was an enormous technical feat that Ken Brooks and Raja Kadali and Ahmad Tahiri solved for us.
Lodge came to me and said, we need to figure out how we can do this online degree processing, and we, talking to some of the other states as far as what they were doing, we saw that wouldn't meet our need, and my initial thought was, we've got to come up with a unique design that will support multi-institutions. That was, to me, a challenge, and I was really very interested in coming up with how to accomplish that.
Another thing was that during the initial design, we were wondering how we can monitor the progress that is going on as far as the enrollments and that sort of thing. That was a concern, and we had to come up with a web design to accommodate that information monitoring.
Success from our point, from the information technology, was to develop some software that would be painless, transparent to the schools and the students, that when they registered for courses it would be no different from anything else. I really felt from the start that it was doable. Just had to set some goals.
Other, I think, right decisions that were made from the beginning that made RODP so successful and unique at that time were that it would not be just an online catalog. It would actually be program-based, and that those programs would be delivered collaboratively by all appropriate institutions. And that registration, therefore, would be pretty much transparent for the student. I can sign up at any institution, that I would have a home institution, a degree granting institution. But my RODP courses might be delivered, every course I took might be delivered by a different TBR institution. That made it much more complicated, but that was a key front-end decision that has made it successful.
I think to get the faculty buy-in, there 2 or 3 things had to happen. First, enthusiastic leadership. Again, the provost, the deans, the Vice President Elkins, there was significant excitement, and there were some key faculty leaders that were involved in that. Second, everything we did through RODP, we passed through the university shared governance committee. So it went to our curriculum committee, it went to our academic councils, it went throughout the system. And so everybody knew what was going on, and that was really important.
The support didn't come in terms of release time or big machinery or huge investments. It mostly came in the form of, would you go to this meeting? Would you think about developing a class? Have you thought about taking some training? Faculty really needed to know at that point that their efforts were recognized. At that point, there was no inclusion of those efforts in promotion and tenure considerations. So it really needed to be, for faculty, really needed to have administrator support. That was, I think, for faculty, the most important thing at that time.
I would literally wake up in the middle of the night during that year we worked on it, and I would wake up and I think, oh my gosh, we haven't thought of this, or oh my gosh, how are students going to do this? And I would go to work the next day, and we would get the people who did need to make that decision together.
I came in, obviously, during the first semester of its launch. So, from my perspective, there were legendary folks who had helped launch the program. They had the vision and had done the hard work. I mean, we were in some uncharted territory when it came to how to handle problems and issues that surface.
Dr. Barker, of course, contacted me since we'd worked with distance learning and continuing education and those kinds of things across the state. And also, the most critical piece was working with faculty. And obviously, with the online format, we certainly had to think about doing things differently here on the campus. And so, from an operational perspective, RODP opened the doors to change many of the things that we had done.
So what we generally did was go to the faculty that were most entrepreneurial, most innovative, and so in some cases on my campus I couldn't get faculty to do a particular discipline. So I'd go to another discipline. I think the expectations that we set for quality in the online programs was actually higher than what we expect in the classroom that we normally have because we knew it had to be good.
Beginning, as we started defining success, of course this was a statewide effort, and I think people thought this was certainly a good idea, and we knew it was something that needed to be done, but we really didn't have any idea how this would catch on. So how would it work on campuses? So how would it work with students? So what kind of numbers would we achieve? And I remember, I think, the goal for the first semester as we launched the effort, and Dr. Robbie Kendall Melton was just very instrumental in getting this program started and running it for years. So I remember Robbie saying, well, our goal is 300 to 500 students for the first fall semester, 300 to 500 students. So we all went about our business trying to recruit some students for our campus, and then, my goodness, once fall semester arrived, we had 1,500 students across the state. So the demand was far better than what we ever anticipated. Now, growing pains, I mean, lots of issues to deal with. And how were we prepared to deal with that many students across the state and then individually on our campuses?
When the word got out and the marketing started, calls started coming in, student profiles started coming in. I got to check those and work with the campuses. Enrollment soared, and I would run across the hall to academic affairs where Dr. McPhee was, and I would run over, and I didn't even know I shouldn't run right into his office, but I would, and he was kind and let me, and I would run over and I would say, we have to open another section. We've got 60 people in one section, and we've got to get another section. This thing's just growing and growing. We had almost 2,000 students the first semester, and it was absolutely incredible. I was so proud of what the campuses had accomplished, and it was so nice to be a part of that.
You want to have access to it by a lot of people, so enrollment is an issue. So if you have good enrollment, that's helpful. I think another measure of success is who completes the program. And that's not measured at RODP, we measure it on the campuses.
Defining success from the very beginning, first of all, was that we would be in operation by that next fall. That was the mandate. And we set an enrollment goal, and I don't remember what it was, but I think it was something like 300, and it was a certain number of courses and a certain number of programs, and we exceeded all of those benchmarks. It was exciting, challenging, frustrating to work on this, but it was it was fun, professionally fun, because it was so new and because it was so successful.
Because I'm a faculty member at heart, I think the success of the program comes from the success of the students. If the student has a good experience during the term, has good outcomes in terms of what he or she has learned in the course, and is able to persist in his or her chosen program, I think we have a successful program.
Initially, when it was announced, and very short, simple answer, when we had 400 students sign up for when we made our initial launch, I knew we were off to the races. It was going to be successful. It takes a collaborative effort to launch this kind of program, to see that the program's successful, particularly in the time constraints that we were wanting to get it done in.
I remember one night in my class, the governor was on with me, and again, he was in Nashville, I was here, and we had students all over the state. And the governor was addressing a student who was at FedEx in Memphis, and he asked how the weather was in Memphis. And the student sort of chuckled and said, well, Governor, I'm not sure. I'm in Los Angeles tonight. And that's the kind of access that this kind of program offers. It truly is a modern approach. It's very consistent with the Complete College Act that asks us to innovate, to be aggressive in involving Tennesseans in higher education. And RODP does that in ways that on-campus programs could never do.
if I looked at what's going on in the next 10 years and what will happen with the collaborative, what little piece of advice I would give a group of people who probably don't need any advice is just to always remember the student.
I think the collaborative has a great future in providing the basis for online degree programs for years to come. If we keep to that kind of thought that we need to be collaborative, we need to work together when we can, and when we can't, we need to be able to provide individual help as well.
I see the collaboratives in the future as getting better. It will get bigger, but I think the main thing is it will also get better.
What I see in the collaborative future is only good things. The new degree programs that have been added to this, the involvement of the technology centers, the community colleges, undergraduate, graduates, professional degrees. So just continued healthy growth and development I see is in the future of the collaborative.
Well, in the second decade, I think that we're going to be focusing on doctoral education. I think that the time has come, the demand is there. I think also the challenge will be to continue to stay cutting edge with new technology. It's changing every day, and looking at how technology can enhance the teaching learning experience.
And so I hope that the future just continues to open doors for students, because that's why we're all here. So in our wildest dreams, we would just hope the program continues to grow and serve students that might not otherwise be able to get a college degree.